We've now realised that we can work effectively from home. So I think there's going to be, rather than people moving back to the office, I think there's going to be more of an augmented way of working where people do some work remotely and do some work in an office. So I think that will bring with it opportunities for organisations to rebalance their cost base.
Welcome to Early Fashion Lovers Chatshow. In this episode, I'll be talking about business growth with Kim Adele. She'll be talking us through about business strategy and how we can take our business from any current state to the next level. So please stay tuned and keep on watching. Do not forget to like and share and subscribe. And welcome to Early Fashion Lovers Chatshow.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute delight to be here.
Oh, thank you. So it's a pleasure for me to meet you and you accepting the invite.
I always think it's nice to meet new people and connect, and actually we all learn from each other if we're open to that, don't we?
Yes, I agree with you. Kim, the reason why you've been invited to our channel today, is all about empowering our community and empowering one another.
Yes.
So regarding to the business at the moment, what is going on in the economy. So I would like to ask you a couple of questions.
Of course.
Okay. Firstly, Kim, can you tell my audience what you do?
Yep. So I'm a coach and I specialise in legacy leadership. So getting people to think about the way that they show up in the world and the legacy that they are leaving for themselves and for their people.
Can you tell me about where you see people's business going at the moment? Because I've got lots of business owners who are kind of panicking in terms of the ripple effect of the pandemic. Can you tell me what's your insight about it?
Yeah, so I think it's been a challenging time for everybody, and I think sometimes we get stuck in our fear, don't we? We get stuck in the fear that things are all going to go horribly wrong, that there's no money left in the world, that no one's going to buy what it is that we need, or what it is that we sell. But the reality is none of that's gone away. We've all just had to, mothball ourselves. We've had to wrap ourselves up and look after ourselves. So I think the world is going to evolve. When we come out of it, we've now realised that we can work effectively from home. So I think there's going to be, rather than people moving back to the office, I think there's going to be more of an augmented way of working where people do some work remotely and do some work in an office. So I think that will bring with it opportunities for organisations to rebalance their cost base, because actually you've not got, you don't have to have such big office space, you don't have to have so much infrastructure, people's work-life balance will become better, but it will bring with it a challenge, because actually when you start to lead a remote team, you have to work so much harder to make sure that they remain engaged, enthused, empowered to do their role. So, in fact, since we've been in lockdown, I've co-authored 2 books on just that, one of which is working remotely and the other one is being a female leader, and the different ways in which we approach that. But it is all about that empathy and engagement, I think.
Wow. During this lockdown, I have also come across lots of people, including women. They've written to me saying, look, Elizabeth, I don't even know how to start. Why? Because maybe some of them, they've lost their jobs, or they have this fear of being accepted back to work. So most people are having like a, plan B, C, to say, look, how can I start a business? What would you say in a layman's language? These are the things you need to consider before you can start. What's your thought about this?
So for me, I started mine as a bit of a sideline, so a bit of a side hustle, as I'm sure a lot of us did. So doing a few clients in an evening or a weekend, started to think about what did I want my business to be? So actually, you've got to first find your passion. What is the thing that you want to be in business for? Because that's going to be what keeps you going when things get tough. The fact that it's part of your passion. And then start to always think about the customer. So who is it you're trying to serve? and what is it they need. So a lot of organisations, where they get it wrong, irrelevant of their size, is they don't understand if they're needs-based or wants-based. So as an example, if I'm accounting software, I'm not a wants-based product. I'm never going to get anybody excited about it, because unless they're an accountant, they didn't go into business to learn accounts. They've gone into business to do something else, but they have to do their accounts to be legally compliant. So they are definitely a needs-based. So actually it's very much about, I'm solving a problem. Whereas, for example, Mont Blanc pen, they're not a needs-based, because if you needed a pen, you could have any pen. You go for a Mont Blanc because you want the experience, you want the designer element of it. So actually they're wants-based. So that's probably one of the first tips that I would say, is once you've worked out what it is that you want to offer, really understand if you're needs-based or wants-based, because you're not going to try and create a want in somebody if actually they just want you to solve their problem. Equally, if actually what they really want is that experience and the desire, giving them something really bland that solves their problem isn't going to meet their needs. So that would be the first thing that I would say. And then just start to do some research off your own, off your own social media. Start looking at people that are already operating in the space and within which you want to go and do your business. Because learning from them, learning what's working and what's not working, what appeals to you and what doesn't appeal to you, and why is that? Because all of that helps you in defining kind of what it is that you're about to take to market. And then the other thing that I would say is, often our fear is the thing that gets in our way. Our fear of not being good enough, our fear of other people judging us, our concern that actually, it's okay for you, but it won't be okay for me, because I don't know that you ever get rid of it, so I still have imposter syndrome. I made it from hairdresser to corporate CEO, and I still was convinced every day that someone was going to turn around and go, oh my God, we put the hairdresser on the board. How awkward, get her off quickly. And it isn't true, because actually that fear is inside us. And I think, one of the things is to say, what is the worst that can happen? And can I live with that? And as long as the answer is yes, take the chance, take the risk, because all businesses, all the great businesses were built on somebody taking a risk and believing in their passion. And as long as as long as you've got those two, the rest will storm. It allows you to find that path through. So I always think, what would I say to Scarlett if she were given the same opportunity? And like most biased mothers, I believe as long as she's kind and as long as she's honest, there's nothing my little girl can't do. So I would say, try, sweetheart. And so what I now do is I take the advice I'd give to her. So maybe that's helpful for your listeners.
Wow, that is really good. It will be very helpful. Wow. Okay, you made mention of doing a market research, yeah, before venturing into a business. Is there, from your experience, is there a specific software, or is there an easy way whereby they can, research? I know you can use Google, but is there any software out there that you can type in the field you are going to, that will point to the right direction to say, oh, A and B is doing the business, this is what they're making, blah, blah, blah. Is there any software for that, or is there any easier way for that?
So I would say the easy way is through social media these days, because actually it's a great way to research and people love to share. So I would be kind of using the search boxes on things like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and put in the product or the type of product or the type of service that you want to offer, and see who comes up. If there's a piece of software called TweetDeck, which links to TweetDeck, yeah, it links to your Twitter. But what you can do is set up lists that will just find the words that you're looking for, and rather than you having to search the whole of Twitter, which can be well, for me, bless my tiny mind, it goes too fast and I can't keep up. But you can kind of go into TweetDeck and put in, for example, I put in leadership, and it tells me anybody who's talking about leadership right now and what's trending. So then actually I can follow what they're doing and like it or comment on it, or connect with them and say, I'd love to learn a little bit more from you. We are in an age where actually people are looking for knowledge brokers. And this is the thing that we sometimes forget. We forget that what we learn, what we already know, is knowledgeable. It's important. So, everybody could learn what I've learned, but do they want to take as many years as it's taken me to get there? I'm not suggesting it would take everybody as long as me, but actually I can share that knowledge, which will help other people. So social media is great, one for building your awareness, but also for getting yourself known in those circles. So connect with people that you think, I like what they're doing, I'd like to learn from them. Ask questions. People love polls these days because actually they want to be able to share their opinion. And they're free to do. Stick a poll out to say, which of these is more important to you right now? Is it, so I do this all the time. Is it bringing people back to work? Is it leading a team remotely? Is it your personal development? So whatever are the questions, and then people will come back and share their responses. And you're like, okay, so I can see that actually my audience is more interested in this than this, so I can tailor what I'm doing next to that.
Well done, Kim. This is really good. It's magical. So Kim, we talked about something just now, which you've just pointed at. Fear, the word fear. How do you think we can really battle this, tackle it? Because the fear kinds of draw a lot of entrepreneurs back, and it makes them to kind of change their mind from time to time. How do you think we can work on this?
Yeah, so it's all about reframing your thinking. So your subconscious brain is the happiest little helper you will ever have in your life. So when you first tell it that I can't do something, when you first have that feeling like I'm not enough, I can't do this, or why me, your little helper runs off and finds all of the examples in your life where you tried something and failed. And it brings them to you happily, and you can look at them and go, yeah, I shouldn't do this. It's going to be a disaster. So what you have to do is then go, okay, that's great. So I can get it wrong. Are there any times where I've done something that I was afraid to and it went really well? Because your happy little helper will trot off and it will find all of the times when you did it well, and then it brings it back to them, and you can go, okay, so I can get this wrong, but I can get it right. So now, based on this new set of facts, what am I going to choose to do? For me, this is where I think there's a great opportunity to borrow somebody's belief. So when you don't have the belief yourself, borrow somebody else's. So think about all the times where people have told you you're good at something, all the times where people have gone, wow, it was really helpful, and borrow their belief in yourself and go and do it through their eyes. And I'd say one thing that I did many years ago, and it's a fascinating insight into yourself. So I was asked to go and ask people that I trusted, so friends, family, colleagues, if one or two things one or two words that they would use to sum up my strengths, and then to go back and ask them for the one or two things where I got in my own way. And they came back, and almost across the board, they came back with brave and fearless. And I was like, I really don't understand it. You're going to have to explain it to me, because I don't get brave and fearless. And they said, well, you've up sticks and moved around the country to places you don't know anybody, for jobs you don't know if you know how to do them. That's brave and fearless. And I was like, well, I'd think that was like flighty and a little bit stupid. But then I thought about it and was like, I wonder what my life would be like if I lived it based on their words of brave and fearless instead of my words of flighty and a little bit stupid. So now whenever I'm faced with an opportunity, I go, I'm going to pick brave and fearless. And therefore I'm going to just push myself and do it.
That's really good. Oh my God. Oof. this is kind of like a big package is you're just dropping over here. Brave and fearless.
Yeah, because I think you've got to look at it and say, what is the worst that's going to happen? So it's a little bit like when you first go into organisations. I've been doing this for years. And you walk in, everybody's in the same place. So nobody really wants to say hello in case the other person doesn't say hello back. But we all desperately want somebody to say hello to us. So as a leader, I usually go in and I'll be like, hi, morning, how is everybody? Deathly silence often, mostly because they didn't expect you to be talking to them. And it takes like a few days. And it's embarrassing because you go, I keep walking in and saying hello. I feel really stupid. Nobody's saying hello back. But actually, why am I feeling stupid? I'm being polite and I'm trying to engage with people. So I'm going to keep going. And actually, eventually, they start talking back to you and then they share stuff with you. And then they tell you about the fact nobody's spoken to them for 4 years. So they were that surprised that this weird woman comes in saying good morning, but it took them a while to work out that I meant them. And then equally, same as with anything, the fear of breaking away from the crowd. I don't want to be the first person that says hello back because people might think we have this dialogue in our head that is only in our head, because the truth about fear is you have to imagine it. It's not real. So it hasn't happened yet. So for example, I'm in the sea and there's a shark next to me. I have to imagine it eating me, because it's not eating me at the minute, it's swimming in the sea at the side of me. And when we imagine things, we create a picture and then we change our words and our response to deal with what we've imagined. If instead we imagined the shark was going to swim straight past us and not identify that we were there, we probably will survive. Because many people do swim around in the sea near sharks and not get eaten. So there's probably a bad example, but it is that piece. It's like, actually, fear is only your imagination. And are you really going to let your imagination stop you living your dream?
Fear is a very powerful thing that, I think one has to have a mentor to kind of help you during the journey. That's my opinion.
No, absolutely. And all of it is around, so mindset's massive, and being able to reframe that thinking to go, actually, you've got to acknowledge it first. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be fearful. But it's then about saying, actually, how do I find a way through my fear? Because my fear is only my imagination. So actually, I'm not going to let my imagination of the negative stop me living my imagination of the positive, because both of them are imagined and either of them can come to reality. So, I do, as you probably know, because we're linked in, I do a quote every day, and that's how I pick my mindset. So I go and find something every day, first thing, that is a quote that inspires me, and go, right, this is going to be how I choose to live my life. And actually, one of my favourites at the moment is, in today I trust. So in every day I trust that things will go well. I trust that actually, as long as I'm being honest and I'm kind and I admit my mistakes and I apologise for them, good things will happen, because what you put into the world comes back to you. And it really works. It really does work.
That is good, because I love writing a lot of positive affirmation as well. So yeah. I can see the traits in you. Well done. That's really good. So, Kim, most people now, they are looking at taking their business online, or some are already there. But from your experience, where do you see the future of taking our businesses online?
So I think it depends who your customer is and where they're most likely to show up. So for me, a lot of my customers are corporate leaders, in which case they're not going to be on Facebook, they are going to be on LinkedIn. So I do more on LinkedIn, but actually be consistent across all of the channels. So the key really is around your personal brand. So you've got to be consistent. So don't say you're one thing on Twitter and something else on Facebook and something else on LinkedIn, because the confused brain doesn't buy. It'll just go, I don't know who this person is, and this person knows who they are, because they're being something different in all platforms. So it's about being each platform wants something different. So Instagram and Facebook want to know a bit more about you as the person, and perhaps LinkedIn wants to know a bit more about you as the professional. But it's still about making sure that they gel. So back to, I love a phrase, you've got to make sure your hips and lips match. So what I'm saying and what I'm doing mirrors up, because that's what people are looking for. And then it's around treating them the same as you would if you met somebody for the first time in the street. So if I met you for the first time over a coffee, I wouldn't walk straight up and try and sell you something, because it's rude. It's like, I would like to get to know you. I want to understand a bit more about you. I don't even know if you need what I've got to offer. So always assume that. And that's one of the challenges with social media, is sometimes people forget that because you're behind a computer screen, they perhaps become a bit more brazen, and all that does is switch off people that are going to connect with you. And then the other thing, it's about content. So people are looking for content that's going to be interesting to them. And there are some great ways of doing that for free. So there is an app called Refind. And basically you go into that. It's a free resource. You set up your account and you start to tell it the subjects that you're interested in. But the key is, it's not the subjects you're interested in, it's the subjects your clients or your hopeful clients are interested in. What's important to the customer, because the customer has to be at the heart of what you're doing. So when you look at that and go, I think this would be really, I find it interesting, I think my customer would find it interesting because it's going to be useful. And you also type in the type of publications that you think your customer would like to read. So for me, it's things like the Harvard Business Review, the Wall Street Journal, etc. So I type all of those in, and then what happens is every day, Refind goes and finds me 10 articles from my publications on my subject matters that it believes are going to be interesting.
Wow.
And then what you do is you look at them, and this is literally how easy it is. So I will do it live to show you. So you go into Refind.
Yes.
Which is just loading up. So give it a second. There's today's picks. So you go. Okay. Let me have a quick scroll through to find one that I think would be interesting. So 5 cognitive biases in data science. So actually that's interesting to my audience. So I click on tweet it. It writes the tweet for me, and and it's gone. And you can then copy that link and put it onto Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. So it can be as simple as that. And then I guess the other thing is make it easy for people to find you. So there's another app. It's taken me a long time to find a lot of these apps, but there's another app which is called Linktree.
I know Linktree.
So that's brilliant, because then what you can actually do is put all of your different social media, your website, YouTube, you name it, in that one thing, and then put the link to that in the bios of your social media. So then actually you might link with me on Twitter, but you've now got my Linktree, which means you might go and follow me on Instagram and Facebook and that as well. It's a great way of growing your interest and growing your following.
Well done. Talking about the Linktree, I really like it. I came across it a long time ago, but I thought I just brushed it aside. Not until recently, when I was trying to, create some like a free ebook or something. So I thought, okay, how about I go research more about the Linktree? And I discovered you can always put about nine of your things into one bio, and all it does is condense everything into one link. So when you put it on your social media, it just directs people to whichever platform you want to take them to. Absolutely. Which is absolutely brilliant. And talking about it, you can do that for free.
Yes.
You see? It's really good.
And they're the bits. It's finding these free ones that can really help you. Another one, and they have a free version of it, is either Crowdfire or Hootsuite. So both of those allow you to, there is a paid for version, but there is a free version. They also allow you to find content that you can put out, as well as schedule it. Because that's one of the biggest challenges is creating content, and then we get ourselves really worked up that we've got nothing to say, that no one's going to be interested, that, you know, I did it this morning coming on here thinking you're going to regret this after about 30 seconds and go, I just need to get her off. It's just a moron. But actually we don't realise what it is that we know, and that actually that can be helpful to somebody to say, do you know, it took me months to find things like Refind, but if I can share that with you and you've all got it, then actually there was some value add.
Look, Kim, you know what? You have linked everything together. It's like you're like a mind reader, I should say. You know, as I'm talking, I'm almost like crying. Why? Because I've been through those experiences as well. Like through the experience, thinking, oh, what is it? Well, how can I do this? How can I do that? When I'm creating content, I'm thinking, is there an easier way for me to create a content? You know, and you sharing this magical tips over here. I wouldn't call it little tips, because if you don't know it, it can take you about 3 weeks just to put things together.
It can, because you don't know where it's coming from. And actually the other thing is that I used to think it was a really bad thing to share other people's content because it would be rude. But actually they want you to share it because it's nice, but it's about sharing it with kindness. So take the effort to add in something that you've learned from it. So, you know, I will, you know, when you read an article, it took me a long time to pluck up the courage to do this. I'd read an article, I'd think it was great, and I'd do like and run away. It's like, I've liked it, so they know I've liked it, but actually I've run away. Now what I do, and I have to push myself to do this, is I will comment on what I took away from it. So I loved this for this reason, and thank you for sharing. This is what I'm going to take away. Or I thought this was brilliant, and can I add? I would also include this. So you can add, you know, and actually that's got me in some amazing conversations with people who've gone, I really liked your point, let's have a catch up. So you end up talking to the person that you were admiring in the first place, because actually you've taken the effort to read their stuff, acknowledge it, and engage with it. Because if you think about it, when you're creating content yourself, you're creating it because you want to engage with somebody, you want to help them, and you want to add value. And you've had to feel that fear, and you've had to press the send button, publish it to the world. You know, and it's the worst thing, isn't it? I remember doing a video, which is a video of my story. And I was there, and it took me about 3 weeks going, oh, I'll press send tomorrow, because it made me feel vulnerable. You were putting your story out into the world, and what if people took that badly, or didn't like it, or didn't like you, or didn't like, I don't know, didn't like the day they were having. It could be anything, doesn't it? And I realised that actually, I spent a lot of years trying to be everybody's cup of tea, and you can't do that. As a British person, we could argue about how we take our tea as much as we could argue about politics and religion. So it was like, set yourself up for failure. And then I heard a quote which was, I'd rather be somebody's shot of whiskey than everybody's cup of tea. And I realised for the right people, you will be their shot of whiskey. And for the others, they're just not your tribe.
Oh my goodness, the conclusion is magical. we got a lot in common, having to think, and you having to take time to plan, to say, oh, should I press the send button, yes or no? Oh my god, I'll do it tomorrow. I think you think deeply like me.
I did once. I wanted to connect with somebody that I really admired and learn something from them, and I wrote the email, and I like sat there and I was like, I know, why would the what's me? I can't really do this. And I started to get a little bit hot. And then I thought about it. I was like, right, so I'm in my house on my own with my 3.5-year-old fast asleep upstairs. Unless I tell anybody I've done it, who's going to know? Who's actually going to know? So if I press it, one of 3 things that is going to happen. They're either going to come back to me, they're going to ignore me, they're going to come back to me and they're going to be happy to connect. They're going to come back to me and they're going to tell me to not ever contact them again, or they're just going to ignore me. So they're going to be the 3 things that happen. All of those I can live with, because nobody I know is going to know. I doubt the person's going to decide to ignore me and then tell the world they've done that, because that's probably going to make them look a little unkind. That somebody that like respects and admires them and only said, oh, yeah, we're welcome for a chat. What actually happened? So I pressed send, and then I closed the laptop. walked away because that was too much of the fear. But they came back. They connected with me, and we've had a few amazing conversations already, and have done some stuff collaboratively. So what I'd say is sometimes, you know, that fear holds us back for all of the wrong reasons, because we've got brains that were built on fight or flight mentality. That's what we needed to do when we needed to survive the dinosaurs and all the rest of it. But what we now know is our ability to learn things, our knowledge, is a superpower. And actually, so is our vulnerability. The thing that we are most afraid of, the thing that we're most scared that other people will find out about us, is where our power lies. So my biggest concern was that people would find out I was a hairdresser and that would take away the job that I had. I realised what I learned being a hairdresser made me able to do the jobs that I did, because I learned to listen, to really be interested in the other person and what they had to say, and then to try and create a memory that made them want to come back for more. That's leadership. That is just what people do when they lead. So what I guess I've learned over the years is that sometimes the thing we are vulnerable about is our power. And once you share it, you're immediately less vulnerable. So I was doing a speech before lockdown, and in the middle of it, I couldn't think what to say, because this little voice in my head was going, just run away, nobody's interested, just shut up. Stop talking. And I said to this stage this room full of people, it was standing room only, and I was like, right now, every fibre of my body is telling me to get off this stage and run as fast as I can. And I can't do that for a few reasons. One, I don't think I could run very fast in these shoes. And two, it'd be really embarrassing, because you'd all be there going, what on earth's happened? And I wouldn't be able to come back from it. So I can't do that. But what I can do is give myself permission to share with you that that's how I'm feeling, and hope that in doing so, the little voice will quieten long enough for me to remember what it is I'm here to talk to you about. And then I got on with my speech. But I had that many people come up afterwards who were like, you stood there in a bright red dress with bright red lipstick and a big smile on your face. And everyone was like, she's really confident, she's really happy. And yet when you shared with us you wanted to run away, we absolutely knew that you were being honest. And we're like, if she can stand there looking that confident and she wants to run away, maybe I can. I was like, that's when you borrow the belief. Look at every single person on the planet at some point feels doubt. Einstein had imposter syndrome. He has a quote which is something along the lines of, the esteem to within which my work is held leaves me feeling like an unlikely swindler. Einstein.
You are magical. Have you got any business strategy or growth ideas you can just share briefly with us at all?
Yeah, so always think through your customer first. What's important to them right now? What are they going through? Where are they? And how do they want to be taught? So I go through the kind of questions, which is, what is it that they're looking for? Why is it important to them? How is what I do going to help them achieve it? When is it that they need it? And why should it be me that delivers it to them? Because it allows you to get really tight on your space. Because the problem we've got is that the world's noisy right now. So actually, despite the fact that sounds really weird, the world's noisy and we're all locked in. We're all locked in, which means we're all online, and online's noisy. So how do you stand out in a crowd? And some of it is about being really, really relevant. So it sounds counterintuitive, but know your niche. So know exactly who it is that you are there to serve, and recognize you're there to serve them. So as an example, I know a friend who's a photographer. But what they then did was, well, I'm a photographer, but actually I've photographed army weddings. So now they are an army wedding photographer. Never needed to go out and look for work again, because actually when people were Googling army wedding photographer, they came up first, because nobody else had gone into that niche, because they were like, there isn't enough work. So actually what happens as business owners is we try and appeal to everybody. because we don't want to switch off any customers. But all that means is that actually we just become part of the noise. So we need to get really specific. You need to know, who is your ideal customer? What's their name? What do they look like? What do they sound like? What's important to them? Get into them and how you're going to serve them, and then talk that way into the world, and they'll find you.
Well done. Wow. This is really, really good. Honestly, oh, you're like an angel. Coming with packed with loads of gift of knowledge, Thank you very much for this. Like, if I want to be very productive in terms of my work, is there just 2 words you can just use for it? Just 2 words.
Focus.
Okay.
So what I would say is, plan your week. Know when you've got your energy. So actually look at it and be really specific. So for me, content creation is one of my challenges. So I always prefer to do that in the middle of the week. It gives me a couple of days to have thought about what I want to do, but it doesn't allow me to procrastinate to the weekend, which then means it just doesn't get done. So I put it in, and then get really, really strict with yourself that when you schedule it in your diary. So actually book the time out that I need to have my head in the space, and I'm going to do content creation at this point. I'm going to schedule my social media here. And the other thing is, own your day. So how often do we're busy doing something, we're like, I'll just quickly check. Let me take me 5 minutes. It doesn't. Before you know it, half an hour's gone, and then you've got to get your head back in the game. So actually what I do with mine is, I will check first thing in the morning, whilst we're having breakfast and getting ready. I will quickly catch up on all of the social media, but I've got half an hour within which to do it. And then the timer goes off, we have to go to nursery, and that finishes. I then will not check my emails or social media until the end of the day, because I know that they will rob me of my time. Then I put slots in my diary where it's like, I will respond to my emails here and here. But here is when I need to be doing, either I've got client pieces in, or I'm going to be writing a piece of content, or I'm doing a speech. But by being disciplined and strict, you get it done, and it allows you to be in control, because if not, your attention is taken away. And these days, our attention is being sought after all the time. So you've got to really be clear. And then the other thing I do is, at the end of every day, I say, what are the 2 or 3, and only 2 or 3, critical things that need to happen tomorrow? Because we give ourselves to-do lists like this, like pages of them. That's fine, but what are the critical 2 or 3? Because if not, what happens is you've got a list of 15, and you go and clear off 4 or 5 of them, but they weren't the ones that were critical. So those critical ones keep moving every day. So by saying each day, which are the ones that are critical for tomorrow, and making sure you do those first, you'll still get 4 or 5 done, but your business will move exponentially.
Thank you very much, Kim. Kim, how did you start this journey?
Okay, so mine was a little bit crazy. So I left school at 15 to be a hairdresser. All I ever wanted to be. Set my first business up at 19, and then at 22 lost the feeling in my hands and legs, and became severely allergic to perm lotion, which in the 90s was a problem. And I had to sell my salon, sold it to the lady who runs it to this day, and I got a 6-month temporary contract at the Halifax as a cashier while I worked out, what the hell do you do now? Actually, I've got no qualifications. I've got an MBQ in hairdressing, but I can't do hairdressing anymore. And I just, any opportunity that came up, I would go, I'll give it a go. I mean, I'll have a try, was my mantra in life. And I moved very quickly. I was very fortunate. Hairdresser to receptionist, salesperson to manager, then started moving around the banks. I got my first directorship when I was 30. Still panicking with this voice in my head going, you're just a hairdresser, they're going to realise you've just got an MVQ. Which kind of never happened. Moved into board roles, still with a little voice in my head. And then I got to I had my second illness challenge, and face surgery. My ex-husband admitted his affair 10 days before my surgery, So I was now overnight a 44-year-old single mother, unemployed, and I was like, oh dear, perhaps need to do something different. So went out, really fortunate, a week later got offered interim managing director for a company, started the following week. Week after that, took 2 days off for training. After I had my surgery, they had it on the Tuesday, they let me out on the Wednesday, I went back to work on the Thursday, and just kind of kept going. And then ended up 18 months ago in intensive care with double lung pneumonia, and realised I needed to make a change, because actually I was killing myself for jobs I didn't really enjoy, and I'm on my own with my little girl and I need to be much more responsible. So I came out of hospital, quit my job and set my business up. I was like, actually, for years, people have sought me out to coach them to lead the life they want to do. So why don't I do it for a living instead of for a hobby?
You are magical.
Bless you. You're too kind. I'm just like the rest, an ordinary girl living the life that's been put in front of them.
I tell you what, I find you so original. Like I wrote it here. You were like, I don't know. I see the trace of me in you.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I just can't put it out. But you think deeply. You research a lot. I think I see a lot in common in between both of us.
I think that's it. I think souls find each other. I think, you know, people find the people that they're meant to. And I'd say, you know, in every, my nan always used to say every day's a school day, and she's right. Every day you meet somebody new, and that person is there to teach you something. You just have to be open-minded to it. So everybody is either a lesson, a blessing, or both. So take what it is that they've got to share, and recognise that nobody hurts you on purpose. So that doesn't mean you don't get hurt. I mean, when my ex-husband left, did it hurt? Oh my God, yes. Were there moments where I didn't even know how to breathe? Absolutely. But I know he didn't hurt me on purpose. He was dealing with his own pain, and I was collateral damage. He didn't even consider me. And that's not being mean to him. He was dealing with his own pain. So the next time somebody hurts you, recognise that actually what they're really doing is dealing with their pain. So don't borrow their pain. Leave them with it and move on with yours, because actually it wasn't personal. You might feel it, but it wasn't.
Kim, I can spend the whole year talking to you.
Oh, bless you. You're always kind.
Okay, Kim, if people want to find you, I'm sure you do coaching, you do lots of things. Where can they find you?
So I've got a website, which is www.kimadele.org. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter as Kim Adele 10, and I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook as Kim Adele.
Okay, wow, you are spot on. Oh my goodness, I can spend the whole year here just with you.
Oh, bless you. You've been an absolute joy to talk to, and I hope I haven't whittled on too much.
My lady, not at all. This is what I want.
Brilliant.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
No problem. See you soon.
Bye, honey. Bye.